Alan Winston with my producer Rebecca McKean. And for the 5 days of the Nevada Desert Experience's 2025 Sacred Peace Walk, a group of people will walk, carrying signs, beating drums, singing, praying, along a desert highway on Western Shoshone land next to the most bombed place on earth. They've been doing this for decades. We're going to follow along with them and ask them why. Tuesday evening, the walkers arrived at the oasis at the Sekhmet Temple of Goddess Spirituality in Indian Springs, Nevada. They set up camp, had dinner, and prepared for Wednesday morning's protest at Creech Air Force Base. Wednesday, April 16th, third day of the 2025 Sacred Peace Walk to the Nevada Nuclear Test Site. We're getting closer. Today is a pause for rest and protest. Yesterday, the walkers passed Creech Air Force Base. Today, they'll return to the entrance of the base to make some peaceful trouble for the military personnel who train and operate the MQ-9 Reaper drone. Excerpt from the Creech Air Force Base website, read by Dave Patterson.
The MQ-9 Reaper is an armed, multi-mission, medium-altitude, long-endurance, remotely piloted aircraft that is employed primarily against dynamic execution targets and secondarily as an intelligence collection asset. It provides unique capability to perform strike, coordination, and reconnaissance against high-value, fleeting, and time-sensitive targets.
What do you have to say, Catherine? Stop the genocide.
I was probably a little too talkative with her. I
Catherine,
really liked her.
You were too talkative?
With me?
You.
Surprise!
Catherine, can you tell us why you decided to take this action and stand in the road?
I just feel now especially with all that is happening in our country that it's time to make strong statements whenever I can. And staying in the road made them have to do more work, and so it's more than just holding a sign. It's like, okay, enough.
Is it scary getting arrested, or are you used to it?
I'm used to it now. The first couple of times I was arrested, it was scary.
How did they treat you over there?
Over here today, they were very nice. They handcuffed me with regular handcuffs. I've been handcuffed painfully before, and this wasn't.
Did you expect to be released right away?
Yes, because actually their plan was, as long as nobody did any resistance, to cite and release was their plan.
Well, Maya, why did you decide to get arrested today? What was your decision?
Because I'm not afraid of them. I've been arrested before, twice at the Clark County jail. I just decided to cooperate with them and do whatever they told, so it could be an easier process. And because we cooperated with them, they said that's why we didn't go to the jail.
And you're carrying a Palestinian flag. Does that put you under a special danger, do you think?
Yes, I think it does. So me and Catherine were the ones who were handcuffed. I have the Palestinian flag, Catherine has a kufaya, and then Silver was not handcuffed. They just told him to put his hands on the car. And then Silver noticed that, and he asked the police, like, is there a reason why they're in handcuffs but I'm not?
And what was the answer?
What was the answer?
Well, would you like us to handcuff you?
Right.
And well, then I backed down on that, but then I later talked to the sergeant, and said I didn't think there was any reason for them to be handcuffed. I don't know if that influenced him, but a couple minutes later, my friends were unhandcuffed, were decuffed.
Silver, you've been arrested out here before.
Yeah.
Was this experience any different?
Oh, this is piece of cake. Piece of cake compared to before, yeah.
Yeah.
They were generally friendlier, I think. My arresting officer noted that we share the same birthday. The fact that we actually disrupted the work that's going on here, even just a tiny bit, that's something.
I then spoke with two of the arresting officers.
Well, as you know, this is an event that the group holds on an annual basis. So our officers have been out here, yes.
Right. What do you think is the necessity of arresting people, and why do you do it? I mean, they're only going to be here for a few minutes.
Yeah, with that being said, our main role and responsibility out here is that everybody's safe. We obviously take everybody's civil liberties very seriously, and we respect everybody's views. With that being said, our main role out here is to provide that security and make sure everybody's safe to do and express their rights out here.
Okay. Do you have any sense of what their message is, and what is your, personal feeling, if you can say, about what it is they're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, no, I can't convey my personal feelings. Once again, our role and responsibility as a community's police department is to maintain a safe environment for all, for them to express their civil liberties.
Got it. I know there's a policy and you have to follow that, but you do have an opinion, even though you won't state it.
Well, I'm sure we all have personal opinions, but on our police department, one of our values is respect for others, and we take that very seriously.
I then met Brian Terrell at the Sekhmet Goddess Temple, and I asked him why he's walking. Hello.
Hello, Alan.
You know, I always mispronounce your name. A lot of people mispronounce your name. It's Terrell or Terrell?
I was raised Terrell. I don't correct people because my father's family's from the South, and I was always told that it's Terrell if you're white and Terrell if you're black.
But I've heard you say Terrell.
No, I haven't.
You don't say Terrell. You say Terrell.
Terrell, and
Do I say Terrell?
you say Terrell, but I'm fine.
You've always been a black man to me. I don't know.
That's okay.
How do you think the 2025 Sacred Peace Walk is going?
I think it's going very well. I think it's very it's a little bit smaller than some years, but I think there really is a depth. I think last year was one of our largest, and there were people. I really sometimes wish I was not an organizer and wish I was just here. But there were people here last year that I really didn't get to know, and I feel like I've been able to get more intimacy with people. And I'm learning from people and people's reflections on what we see. And one thing I'm hearing from people who haven't been here on this walk before is how much, from one person in particular, how interrelated everything is we've seen, from the Strip to the sleazier parts of Las Vegas to the homeless camps under the bridge that goes into the west side, and then going by the prison and Creech Air Force Base today. That there is there's a continuity. We're seeing the same things manifested in different ways. The same terrible spirit. The poverty and the richness. They're different sides of the same coin. So a Catholic worker friend from Australia years ago said, Las Vegas is what God thinks of America. And I think that's true, and it's true here all this way. And there's things of beauty too. Here we are in the Temple of Goddess Spirituality, and visiting the Catholic Worker House, and seeing the pockets of resistance. It's again, it's a very, very rich experience.
This country is a real dichotomy, isn't it? It's kind of mixed up.
And I think that's putting it very generously, because it's hard to see sometimes that the bad is balanced by the good, and it is, but it's hard to see, and especially these last months, last weeks. It takes a discipline to stop and see appreciate the beauty and goodness of it. So, and I think this this walk is a very helpful thing for that.
You were walking up here to the temple, and you were talking about kind of a life of work of peace, anti-nuclear, and that you're walking away with a lot towards the last, third of our existence?
Who knows?
Yeah. How are you feeling about your work that you do?
Well, I think some people ask me how I keep going, and I think sometimes my answer, honestly, is inertia. It's how do I do something else after all these years? It's what I do, and I can't. And I feel like I don't know what I would do if I wasn't able to respond to what's going on in the world. If I didn't have good people to act with, to walk with, resist with.
You've met a lot of good people in your life.
Oh yes, I've been very, very, very.
Dorothy Day being one of them.
Yes, and I met. When I was 19 years old, and about that same time, I met Daniel Berrigan and Philip Berrigan. I was telling someone today, the first time I was ever in jail more than a few hours in a police station getting processed out. I was in jail for 2 weeks in Colorado after being arrested at Rocky Flats with 14 other people, including Daniel Ellsberg. Very good, important part, I was like 21 years old, and I spent 2 weeks in a cell block with Daniel Ellsberg. Yeah, I dropped out of college for that. I don't regret it.
Formative.
Yes.
To who you are today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have been asking the peace walkers along the road to, I put them on, I kind of threw it at them, and I'm throwing it at you. If there was one word that you could explain why you walk this sacred peace walk, why you do this 60 miles from Las Vegas to Creech to the Nevada nuclear test site, what would that word be?
I'd say hope, but I want, if you ask me one word, I've got to qualify it. I'm not saying hope that I already have. I'm not saying hope that I am, that's established, that I am confident of. I have hope as an aspiration. It has a discipline, and this. I'm given hope through this. I'm also working for it. Some of it's a gift and some of it is a labor, but I do find myself more hopeful in events such as this. That at this point in my life, I honestly don't understand how other people survive who don't have these kind of communities, these kinds of actions. I think it's putting it into muscle. You know, everybody has ideals and wishes for the future and everything, but I think it, as ineffective as it seems sometimes, is putting it into action, sweating over it, moving one foot after another, and also trying to organize that everybody who needs a bed has a bed, and that all the vegetarians are covered. Those kinds of details can seem to be distracting, but they all add up. It's all for the good.
And is the essence of hope.
Mm-hmm.
You hope they're being taken care of. You hope they're okay.
Right.
But there's the other side of hope that it's not going to work out.
Yeah. Well, I was recently quoted as saying, and I don't remember saying it, that I've always said hope is not the same as optimism, but somewhere I said, I guess, that optimism is despair in its deepest form. Optimism meaning to look at the world and say everything's pretty cool, it's all going to work out. Is, if that's what people think, then no, it ain't gonna. It's gonna be. Is that real hope has to? I think it's required to take into consideration just how bad things are, and if you don't do that, you're just whistling by the graveyard. You can't contribute to anything better. It takes the hard, cold, sober look. Hope is not an idealistic pie in the sky kind of thing. Hope is the most pragmatic and hard-headed and realistic way to approach the world. We can't afford hope. Hope is destroyed when we have, give ourselves over to delusions and rosy pictures of the world as it is and as it's going to be. There are wonderful things happening, and there are wonderful things that can happen even in these dark times, but it's not going to be because people ignore how bad things are. I'm not hopeful when I ignore what's happening in Gaza today. I'm not hopeful when I ignore the new nuclear arms race. Jesus, they just announced that the B6113, the B6112 was just off the assembly line and deployed 2 months ago. Now, this new bomb that's going to be like 45 times bigger than the Hiroshima bomb was going to be, they were going to leave like 6 years to make it. Because of the disarray and confusion and danger in the world, they're ramping it up. They're going to have that done in the next few months. And it's just at this very time that we ought to be saying, hey, things are pretty scary, things are very unstable, let's back off, is the very time giving Donald Trump a nuclear weapon that no president has ever had access to before. Height of irresponsibility. And I can't look at that and say, oh, everything's going to be fine. It's damn scary. And what's real hope is to know that, but to know it doesn't have to be that way, and to know people who are acting in resistance. So that's what hope is.
You wrote a poem.
Yes, a part of our walk, began on the Strip on Sunday in Las Vegas, and walking through Las Vegas to the west side and the north side, before heading out to the desert and to come here and then to the nuclear test site. I recognized a couple of years ago that a big part of our walk through the north side of Las Vegas, and it's an area that's just devastated. There's empty buildings and empty lots. It's almost 100% Black and other minority people living there. Very underserved, very, very poor. They named this street, the H Street and Revere Street, going south to north, has under the legal street name, they have the honorary Langston Hughes Avenue. And I recognized that. I thought there was real irony there. When I was in my 20s, I read about everything I could, from Langston Hughes. He was a poet and a novelist. He was one of the great voices of the Harlem Renaissance that I think had its peak in the 30s. And I thought, because we stop along the way and recognize different things, but we walked by for years Langston Hughes Avenue and without thinking of him. So I thought I'd look up some poems and share one along the way. And the first one that came up was a poem, Kids Who Die, that I think really speaks to our time. And I read that beneath the street sign in Las Vegas.
I remember.
So I'd like to read that.
Please.
I think to say Angelo Herndon, who's referred to, was a Black labor organizer who was indicted for insurrection because he was organizing in Atlanta, organizing with the industrial workers of the world, Black and white workers together. And another reference is Liebknecht, and Karl Liebknecht was one of the founders of the German Communist Party, and he was lynched, a victim of a lynching. So just to know those names as a point of reference. This is for the kids who die, Black and white. For kids will die certainly. The old and rich will live on for a while, as always, eating blood and gold, letting kids die. Kids will die in the swamps of Mississippi, organizing sharecroppers. Kids will die in the streets of Chicago, organizing workers. Kids will die in the orange groves of California, telling others to get together. whites and Filipinos, Negroes and Mexicans, all kinds of kids will die who don't believe in lies and bribes and contentment and a lousy peace. Of course, the wise and learned who pen editorials in the papers, and the gentlemen with doctor in front of their names, black and white, who make surveys and write books, will live on weaving words to smother the kids who die. And the sleazy courts and the bribe-reaching police and the blood-loving generals and the money-loving preachers all raise their hands against the kids who die, beating them with laws and clubs and bayonets and bullets to frighten the people. For the kids who die are like iron in the blood of the people, and the old and the rich don't want the people to taste the iron of the kids who die. Don't want the people to get wise to their own power, to believe Angelo Herndon, or even get together. Listen, kids who die. Maybe now there will be no monument for you except in our hearts. Maybe your bodies will be lost in a swamp, or a prison grave, or the potter's field, or the rivers, where you drowned like Liebknecht. But the day will come. You are sure yourselves it's coming, when the marching feet of the masses will raise for you a living monument of love, and joy and laughter, and black hands and white hands clasped as one, and a song that reaches to the sky, the song of life triumphant through the kids who die.
Brian Terrell, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Why We Walk is a production of BCR Podcast and the Nevada Desert Experience. Interim music for this episode, Garden at Lifetime, was composed and performed by the Lou Tobacco Trio. And the protest at Creech Air Force Base by the Sacred Peace Walkers was accompanied by Blind Tom Wiggins' Battle of Manassas.